Next on my list is David Wolf's Sun Food Diet Success System. And I can't recall exactly when I bought this book, but I really consider it more than just a guide to the raw vegan diet. I think that because of all the information about law of attraction and related issues concerning positive thinking and the like, it's a very valuable resource. I also have Eating for Beauty by him, and I enjoy that one as well. But I chose this one because it combines diet with other positive attitudes that we need to embody. And I think that was kind of a first for me because I always thought of diet as, you know, divorced from anything else. And it's actually all connected. And David does a good job of, bringing these different ideas together. I highly recommend this book for anyone. Children of the Law of One is next on my list, and I like how it covers so many different topics related to the mysteries of life. For instance, Atlantis and Lemuria, alternative history to what we've been told, you know, our origin as human beings, how we fell from grace, you know, those creation stories and that sort of thing. It's a very eclectic and fascinating read. I did find it somewhere in my house after having not read it in years, and it seemed a bit strident in areas, but I still think that it's something that many people listening to me, it would be right up your alley. So if you're a spiritual aspirant, do look it up. Maybe on Amazon there are some used copies and see if you agree with me. A somewhat related author is David Icke, and the first book I read by him was The Biggest Secret, which talks about the reptilians. And I remember hearing his name mentioned twice in one day. And that was a sign to me from the universe that I was supposed to read this guy. And so I went to the bookstore, got his book, and I'm trying to remember what year that was. I believe it was 2001, and I believe it was before 9/11, but I'm not 100% on that. But he actually has a whole book on 9/11. The first one that I read was, as I say, The Biggest Secret, and then I read The Truth Shall Set You Free and his book on 9/11, and I have several other ones by him. What I like so much about him is how he just brings up so many details of history and ties them together with kind of a covert history that we are not told about. And it is just absolutely fascinating. He also delves into every other topic that would be of interest to us, including, the healthcare scam, the way the media distorts the truth or just makes things up, and how they are in cahoots with the elite. And, I could go on and on about him. The reason it really changed my life is because I was one of those people in the Matrix that believed whatever I was told. We're conditioned that way. And once you get exposed to David Icke, I think there's a good chance that you will break out of that mold, that you will start to question what you're being told, and that you will become someone who doesn't just buy the official story. And I do have a caveat in that although I do consider him spiritual because he talks in very sophisticated terms about our capabilities on that level and how the elite try to dumb us down and keep us in a low vibration, sometimes his books seem to have a low vibration to me because they don't generate a sense of positivity at times because he's usually so busy illustrating all the evil that's being done, by the reptilians that he doesn't counter it enough with, well, you can, change it up and do something about it, and you don't have to let them control you. And so that's the only quibble that I have with it. And, if you are in a place where you're easily discouraged, then it probably wouldn't be a good idea to read him. But definitely, I can see somebody curling up for an evening and just getting into this fascinating alternate take on everything that's happening and everything that has happened. The last author that I would like to mention on my list is Teal Swan, formerly known as Teal Scott. I have her book, The Sculptor in the Sky. And what's really interesting is that until 2013, I had never even heard of her. And apparently, she had had videos 2 years prior to me learning about her. It was probably one of those things on YouTube where they suggest someone for you to look at. And I looked at one of her videos and then I got hooked. Then I bought her book. She's very, very similar to Esther Hicks. So if you've read Law of Attraction material, she even uses some of the same lingo. What I like particularly about her is that she's a vegan and she's against vaccines. And I also admire the fact that she really doesn't try to, present herself as somebody who is just, breezing through life, even though she has amazing, extrasensory abilities. She has suffered from anxiety because she was the victim of childhood satanic ritual abuse. And, she's kind of a role model for other people who have gone through this. One of her messages is that we are, and that we don't have to prove our worth all the time. And yes, I'm paraphrasing, and I hope I've done her justice, but the fact is that we don't have to prove that we have a right to exist. We don't have to achieve certain things in order to be okay or in order to justify our existence. And there are a lot of people that need to read that because many people go through life reciting their resume whenever they get a chance. And it's not because they're egotistical, it's because they're actually fundamentally insecure and don't believe that they, have a right to exist unless they have done enough to earn it. She comes out with videos every Saturday, so it's always fun to watch her latest one. But The Sculptor in the Sky has a lot of material that I think is quite spiritually advanced. And some people might not be ready for it, but I do think that it's one of those books that eventually, even if you buy it and you can't make heads or tails out of it, a few years down the line, 10 years down the line, you might come back to it and say, wow, I really needed that. It was worth the wait. So I'm going to leave it right there. If I come up with any other books that kind of rock my world, I will definitely share them with you. And I hope that I've given you guys some ideas, maybe some authors whom you've never heard of and that you might be willing to explore. And if you do find them and read the books, please do share how you felt about it. I'd love to hear from you. Take care, guys. Bye.